few basics. We're going to talk a little bit about the coin itself, and then we're going to hear a little bit about the detection of counterfeits. Again, we have Jack Young with us. As always, it's a pleasure, brother. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Doing great. Thanks.
And then Eric is here. Hopefully he's come back.
I am. Good morning to you all.
He clearly found the telephone. So we're going to go over just a couple things real quick. But first, let's say hi to some people. David Carlisle is here. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you coming in. Steve looking for silver. Good morning. Luther Gold Maple, how are you? Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you so much for being in here today. Again, if you have access to a Morgan dollar, grab one, pull it out. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the structure. What's up, Azure? How you doing, brother? Good to see you. Happy morning. All right. So what's going on, Jack? How you been, brother?
I've been doing great. Doing a lot of research when I have spare time. As you know, I work at the post office, and so we're getting into the holiday rush, and so that's been occupying a lot of my time here the last week or so.
That's cool. What about you, Eric? What's keeping you busy, brother?
Nothing, just working on coins. I've been sorting coins yesterday, and I've been editing web pages this morning.
Nice.
So hopefully we'll get to upload a bunch of new stuff into the website.
Well, cool. Hopefully that'll be up there pretty quick. I know you've been working on a ton of stuff. We talked about the number of boxes and stuff you had sitting around.
Oh, I'm so far behind that I'll probably never catch up.
Well, we're all the benefactors from that work. You guys know that, right? So thanks for all you do, brother. Appreciate it.
I love it. I look forward to doing it every day.
All right. Well, I am going to present something really quick, and you're going to have to bear with me. I'm trying to move some stuff around to make it easier. So let me display this. Now, you guys have seen this. This is the thumbnail when you came in today. And we're going to go through a little bit of discussion regarding, did you notice? Can you tell? Now, Jack knows this coin. And by looking at the information in this thumbnail, do you have enough to say that one is real, both are real?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you.
Yes, I have enough information.
And how long did it take you to figure out all those pieces of information to be able to look at a coin and say, hey, this is what's up?
It was almost instantaneous.
And what is it about the appearance of the coin that you have that helps you enable that identification?
So when I look at an 1878 CC, I look at the reverse, I look at the CC shape and placement, and I look at the arrows, and you look at the top, whatever you would call that portion of the arrow, and compare the left to the right. And that gives you a pretty good clue.
Kind of like that.
Kind of like that. So Jack Riley and I have chased a number of counterfeits, as we probably have discussed. And the one that you've got circled in red as counterfeit is a pretty common reverse that's been used on a whole slew of different dated Chinese CC Morgan dollars. And so that is the wrong reverse. Jack would tell you the absolute technical name associated with that, but it is the wrong reverse for that date in that mint market.
Now, what was just said actually encompasses a lot of work. There's a lot of identifying things. We'll talk about VAMs a little bit here in the stream. We'll talk a little bit about the design varieties that was mentioned. And we also have to talk about the family of counterfeits. Jack Riley's really good about reminding me about, well, don't forget about the family of the counterfeit, not just the die pairing that we're used to. But in this particular case, there's two really distinct items. And if you look at that feather compared to the one on the left, you'll see that one on the left, they're uniform, right? They're in a pattern, thin, large, thin, large, thin. They have that certain flow. If you look at the one on the right, you'll see, one, that pattern's not quite there. Number two, that slanted first arrow, it doesn't point up at an angle. It slants towards that claw. And it's easy if you're shown, it's easy if you're told, but if I was to show you this picture, what would you call that item? How would you know what that is? So we're going to go through a little bit about the coins. And again, it doesn't matter if we're talking about Morgan dollars, peace dollars, it doesn't really matter. Once you understand the anatomy and the design of the coin, then you can start looking into deeper items like VAMs and WAMs and all that other type stuff. But you have to know the fundamentals of the coin. And here is a Morgan dollar. How many of you, and again, I'm not really focusing on chat right now because I have a lot of information up, and so I'm trying to balance that. So if I'm not responding to you in chat, please bear with me, I apologize. But how many of you understood prior to looking at this that a Morgan dollar could be this complex? How many people really understood that almost every facet of the coin had a name associated with it? Some of you might. A majority of you probably had no idea. And why is it important? Now, I'm going to share you this image. And this is something that when you're looking at VAM World or you're looking at something like maybe Wexler's or copper coins or something like that, when you see an image of something, what is it? Where is it at? Do you know where this is? So understanding the coin is important. Now, you don't have to become an expert at it. That's why you are given references. We look at this one. What is this one? Is it an eye? Kind of looks like an eye with an eyebrow over the top, turned sideways. Where is this on the Morgan dollar? If you zoom out a little bit, you might be able to tell a little bit more. But when we come back to here, if I was to tell you that it was the D-shaped void located in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you'll see that that actually points to that area in the coin that looks like a D. Or if you look at the ear, you'll see that that general design and what they were trying to look at, I'm going to go back one, is was it attached or was it detached? These are the little nuances. You're not expected to know all of those. But when you want to talk about something like a VAM, or you want to talk about something like identifying counterfeits, understanding the position, the angle of the mint mark, they get really freaking complicated. But it doesn't have to go this deep if you just learn some of the basics of the coin. And so as we look at kind of the VAMs and the complexity, this is just for one VAM. Now, Jack Riley's really good with VAMs, right? He loves them. He likes looking at the Morgans and doing the omit marks, and he'll tell you the VAM and what's happening with it. He really enjoys that kind of stuff. And when I try to understand what he means by something, I had to do some research because I'm going, man, I don't necessarily know the design elements of the Morgan dollar. So I wanted to walk through a couple things with you before Jack talks us through some of the counterfeits. Number one is going to be, what are some of the basic structural elements that you need to know in order to orient yourself to the position of the coin? All right, let me say that in English. How do I tell which direction is up? Okay, there are places on the coin that actually point you to the structure of the coin. And the other one is when you're looking at mint marks. Earlier, Jack talked about the rotated mint mark, the shape of the mint mark, the positioning of the mint mark. This is extremely important when you're identifying, because these two elements will almost always be a fundamental piece of determining the authenticity of the coin. Jack, do you agree with that statement?
Yes.
Okay. These are things I'm learning, folks. So I'm going to ask questions along the way just to make sure that I understand the full merit of it. All right. I got this from the VamWorld Variety Vista. You'll see different photos, but this is primarily from VamWorld. And this is probably one of the best representations of how to identify where the beginning of the coin is. When you look at the Morgan dollar, you see that little pivot on the neck. Well, remember the coin that had the elements of that? What is the pivot of the neck there? What is that called, right? It's the V of the neck. Well, again, that tells you where you start the denticle count, or that shows you where from left to right, how far the date should be. If it's too far to the left, it tells you that it's near. Too far to the right, it tells you it's very far. And so being able to understand where the design should start is kind of the first part of generalizing this process. Because once you do, you'll be able to look at these dates and say, oh, this is near, this is far, this is very far, this is very near. It can get incredibly detailed. And that's right, it absolutely can. But all of you, real quick, just in chat, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to look at the 1898. That's the middle left picture. And tell me, based off of the drawing above, is this near, normal, is it far? That's it. Near, normal, far. Because once you identify this, you've already begun to understand the basis of where the coin starts. Okay? Now, I know a lot of people are like, well, this is too complex. I don't want to get that deep into it. But if you really want to understand what happens when you look into a coin's authenticity, knowing some of these are kind of some of the essentials that you really need to understand. Why does it matter? Well, again, we talked about the mint mark, the CC tilted left, the O shifted right. Now, when you hear those things, Eric, on copper coins, right? CW or CR counterclockwise, right? Rotated clockwise, rotated counterclockwise. What is that in reference to?
That is in reference to RPMs. Where they are rotated, like the punch moves, and does it move clockwise or counterclockwise? Then they become tilted when you can't determine the direction.
So this guide is a really good piece for you to understand a little bit better what they mean by where that second strike is, right? So if they say it's low and low right rotated clockwise, then you know that you're looking for that impression underneath to the left and up, right? It'd be opposite. Is that correct, Eric?
Yes.
Okay. I just confused myself. I was like, wait, hold on. Did I say that right? But anyway, just being able to understand some of the things is going to really help you understand whether something is real or not. Okay, and again, when you're looking at this particular coin, the 1883 Altered Morgan, this comes from NGC. If you go to the NGC website and you pull up the 1883 Altered Morgan, it'll pull these pictures up. And you'll see how there's two things that you're really looking at here. Is the positioning of the mint mark the same as the genuine? If you look in the upper right-hand corner, it's not. You can see that area that looks almost like dugout metal, right? That's really, really light compared to the rest of it. Those are telltale signs that there's been some shenanigans going on. And so as you begin to look at coins, as you begin to understand what to look at, what to look for, you can begin to better understand some of the complexities that people like Jack Riley, Jack Young, Zach, Eric, Chuck Daughtry, and of course my friend Paula Bloom, they can explain a lot about the coin, the dynamics, the pairings based off of these 1 or 2 or 3 elements, right? And so if you learn some of these, you'll be able to understand them more clearly and have a better association for what it is that they're looking for and what you should be looking for when you're searching for coins. So I am going to stop this and clear that out. Whoops, hold on just a second. What just happened? Uh-oh. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to pull up Jack's article real fast. Where did my article go? Did I say anything that didn't make sense, Jack?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay. Again, I'm trying to learn, right? And so I want to share information that I learn and make sure that I explain it correctly. But I just feel that, sometimes we get so complex because we're used to talking the language. I don't want people to get lost.
Well, yeah, and that's my concern as well, because I can really get down into the weeds, and sometimes I got to take a breath and stop.
All right, so here you go. Let's walk through this and tell me what you want me to do.
Yeah, we'll just walk through it. We're talking about CC and CC counterfeits. And so I put together kind of a little fun presentation. I'll probably make it a Coin Week article of some sort. But I started with a couple rather funny eBay ones. And you see where I said CC counterfeits, and I call them current Chinese CC. The first one is an 1847 CC, seated dollar. And then I've got another one with a motto, of course. And then, on eBay, you can find anything. There's an 1861 CC with motto. And I just made the note, never mind, the motto wasn't added until 1866. And the first CC seated dollar was dated 1870. So these end up, I call them red book varieties, red book counterfeits, because simply looking at a red book, you would have that information to know that these things are not genuine.
One of my favorite peace dollars is the one that was 1796, which happened to be the year that the designer of the peace dollar was born.
Exactly. I've got another one down here you'll probably like. It's a trade dollar. So I think that's where we're going next. We'll go down to the bottom here or down a little further. And so I talk about some of the trade dollars, and there were 2 in particular that use a common bad reverse. This one is really bad. I've written a Coin Week article on it. I nicknamed this one the dotted N, and there are a couple of unique features for this. But again, it's common, and when we talk about a family of counterfeits, you can find these counterfeits with various dates on them. But the CC doesn't match anything. Jack Riley and I have talked about that. It's almost like they just came up with a cartoon and just punched it in. There is a depression in the A of trade, and then the famous, you can actually see the dot over the N going towards the denticles that gave it the nickname. This one's, let's go down a little bit further. I think this is in 1876. Is that what I said?
Yep.
Yeah, so that one's 1876. And then I note that the current counterfeiters that have done all the Morgans couldn't resist this one either, so they created a version in a fake PCG slab. We'll go down a little bit farther. And that's mine. Same thing. It's a dotted N. Actually put together pretty well. It's got a little bit of toning with it, but it's the counterfeit holder. You can see no PCGS in the lower front right-hand corner. The barcode is gibberish and doesn't scan. And it's, again, a dotted N. So it has the same funny-looking CC mark, same depression, and, of course, the dot over the end. And then I thought the next one, Frosty, you'd really like. I said, why not a 1791? So this one's kind of a combination of a red book counterfeit, but it's also a dotted N. So you got pretty much everything going on with this one, and of course, only on the Bay you can find those pretty much every day.
Yeah. So again, the reason that this is so funny is 1873 was the first year of the trade dollar. So for those of you who aren't tracking, and again, to have these things, there's got to be something significant to somebody about that date. It makes me wonder if the designer, you know what I mean? It's because again, when you look at the 1796 peace dollar, it is the year that the designer was born, and so I understand the person who was counterfeiting may not. They're like, oh, this was the designer. Oh, they're commemorating his birthday. What kind of silliness made them think of that date? So anyway.
Exactly. That's something we're going to have to go in and Google and see if there's any information out there about why.
Well, but that's exactly how I found the one on the peace dollar. I'm like, what's the significance of this date? And I was like, oh, he was born that day. Oh, that's funny. I was like, that's hilarious. And so, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say the next one that I have that uses a common reverse, I call the notched R. And this is actually a coin that I purchased. I made a nice image under my microscope, but you can see the notch and the R. And again, the CCs don't match. The reverse is really relatively well done, but they put this, different dates and create a whole family with this common reverse. So the next one down, that's in 1878. Again, it was done pretty well. That was for sale on the Bay. And as you go down a little bit further, this is the one that I took the microscopic picture of. This one was actually submitted and came back from NGC as not genuine. And it's rare that they do that. A lot of times they'll say authenticity unverifiable or some such comment. But this one, they just came out and said it was just not genuine. And it has the notched R. And I actually ended up purchasing that for very little when I convinced the gentleman that, why it was wrong. And then NGC actually went in and they say it's not genuine on their cert when you go down and actually plug that cert number in. So I wrote an article actually for the Liberty Seated Collectors Club, the Gilbert Journal. It was published in their last edition about this. And again, it's a family with a bunch of different dates. So that's what you'll see when you go in and plug in the cert number and look at what does the cert information on NGC's webpage.
So, folks, I want to point something out. And, Jack, you're going to be like, oh, God, Frosty, shut up. I want you to think about what Jack just said. I want you to think about the information that's out there that he has helped you identify. Now, we're talking about industry leaders, right? NGC, we're talking about people recognizing that, hey, this is the guy who has identified these things and explains to them as well. So he consults with a lot of different people to make sure that the information gets out. So again, I want people to realize, Jack, a lot of people are like, oh, he's a pretty smart guy. He knows what's going on. Like you have a lot of impact in this hobby. And a lot of people that you work with have a lot of impact in this hobby. This is something that isn't quite recognized. The ACEF, again, they do tons of stuff behind the scenes. People just never see them. So make sure that you guys are giving those folks some kudos because they do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. They're not getting the praise that they deserve. So give them some kudos because this is really cool stuff.
And they must trust him because I can tell you to get in contact with them and actually speak to somebody is a task in itself.
Facts. Yeah, facts.
It is. And a lot of it goes back to the really deceptive counterfeits I was chasing back in the day. And actually had corroboration both with PCGS and with NGC and developed some really good contacts that we still talk. And in fact, I talked with NGC just the last couple of days about some other counterfeits. So, but again, when you're going in and you're trying to determine if a coin is counterfeit, the first thing I always say is attribution. Go in and try to attribute the coin. If it doesn't attribute to a genuine example, then you've probably got a problem. If you have the opportunity to, if it's in a slab and you have the opportunity to go in, look at the cert number and see what the TPG has to say about it as well. Oftentimes there are pictures that you'll be able to compare. You might even have images of it in the slab, so it gives you a good idea of what you're looking at in comparison to what the genuine example should be. We'll go down a little bit further. So we had to get to Morgan's, right? And
the first
one of
time
the
I
most
saw these,
prolific counterfeited Morgans out there, at least in the Chinese world and eBay, is the 1881 CC. And this comes out of an article that I've previously done for Coin Week. It's a collage I put together. I made a note that I'd found 13 different sellers and just threw a bunch of the images together. What you see, of course, 1881 CC, you see Morgan on the label. And we've talked about how that's not correct for that date.
right?
You also see a common cert number. They all have the same number. And, we know that there should only be one unique coin with that cert number. There shouldn't be a bunch of different examples. So that's another indication that maybe we have a problem. And again, I got with PCGS on this one. We talked about how many counterfeits there were out there. And this is one of the few certs that PCGS went in and actually deactivated. And they deactivated by their note because of the number of reported counterfeits using that cert. What they did with the genuine coin and the genuine cert, I've heard in many cases, they recall that genuine coin and they reslab it for free and put it under a different cert number, so it no longer is connected with these bad coins. And then one of the coin community forums that I'm in, I had gone in and posted, and a gentleman actually had some really cool images that showed that he had documented this one back to 2018. And again, it's the 1881 CC. One of the trademark things are the slash across the breast. We talk about that. It's in many of them. In some cases, they've tried to buff it out, but a lot of these using this common reverse for the CC family have that slash. The CC is in the wrong position. That's not correct for 81CC, or I'm not sure if it's correct for any VM. Jack Riley and I have talked about that as well. And then there was a dot that was over the top of the D that you do see on some of them, but not all of them. Go down a little bit further.
I think Luther wants to know if you have your complete set of Morgans yet.
The problem with that is, Luther, I kind of did, but they keep bringing new ones out. And so it's hard to tell when you're complete. So I talk a little bit here about Carson City Morgan dollars. I always look at the CC. We talked earlier about the position and the shape of the CC. And we talked a little bit about going to VAM World and what are VAMs, and references by Leroy Van Aken and A. George Malice. And so there are two actual reverse VAMs for 81CC. I pulled those right off of VAM World, and you can see where the CC should be and how it should be oriented. And then there's the typical CC counterfeit on the right, and it just doesn't line up. It doesn't match. There's no doubt that it's not a genuine coin. Go down a little bit further. Hopefully I'm not going too fast, because I tend to do that. So I was able to find the genuine coin. And so this is a good comparison between the two. You can see the differences in the label, in the barcode, in the holder. It doesn't say Morgan. So it's pretty obvious when you put the two side by side that there's some issues with the one on the left-hand side. And then I talk about the inspiration for the Morgan on the label. And initially I just kind of speculated that the PCGS label only has Morgan on it for the 1921 P, and they did that to differentiate it between the 1921 Peace Dollar. And I thought, well, maybe they saw that, and that's why they started putting Morgan on all their labels. But if you go down a little bit further, you'll see that I actually found the genuine one. So the bottom one is the counterfeit, and you see the cert number for that, the 1158, and the one above it is actually the genuine example for that cert number. And so, yes, that's what happened. They saw the 21, and they saw Morgan, and they liked the MS64 grade, and they put that on a ton of their coins now, including most of their CCs. It's always fun to find the genuine coin to be able to compare it to the Chinese counterfeit.
How do you find the genuine coin?
It is, what did we call that the other day? My dumpster diving? Pretty
Okay.
much that. I've got some ways to go in and search, and every now and then you can actually go in and put the cert number in on a search and something will come up, but often not. And I end up going in and just start looking. I'll type in the date, the nomenclature, the MS64, PCGS, and a lot of times Google will pull up a bunch of images. A lot of those are eBay images, but some can be from other websites. And with a cold beer, I will go through and see if I can find the genuine one. And more often than not, I actually can find it that way.
That's crazy.
It is. Every now and then you'll find one. The heritage, I go in and look at heritage auctions. You can actually just throw the cert number in on a search under Morgan dollars, and if they've ever seen it, it'll show up. PCGS sometimes will tell you what it should look like, and then you can go in and find it too. But I always feel better when I can actually find the genuine one, because then it's a real good comparison and visual between what's good and what's bad.
We have a question in chat, and I want to kind of address this. You'll probably be able to explain this a little bit better. So Neil's asking, do they do this on purpose? And he's talking about die changes, die varieties. First thing I want to make sure I understand is you're talking about authentic coins. I'm assuming you're not talking about counterfeits. Why they make counterfeits is just to make the coin. They don't necessarily understand what pairs should go together. So they don't care what's there. They just want to get it to look as close as possible. Some of them don't even do a very good job of that. But so on the original ones, the reason there are differences in the coin, and Jack, you can correct me if I say this incorrectly, there are different dies, and in this case, different hubs. And so you're going to have design changes throughout the year. I think is it Variety Vista, Eric, where they have all of the design varieties and mint mark varieties and styles? And,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
So you can use something like Variety Vista, and you can go into and look at the mint marks. You can pull up the information, actually dig into, even within the same series, you may have 25 or 30 design varieties. Because they changed elements. It could be the mint mark. It could be the shape of the nose. It could be the changing of the lettering. There's all sorts of different things that they can do, and they did it quite frequently, if I'm not mistaken. Arguments, disagreements between design elements and the shapes of coins and stuff like that. In Morgan dollars, all of those elements would be like VAMs, right? They would tell you not only the element that was on the coin for that particular year, but the die cracks and stuff like that. So are they on purpose? Well, some of them are because of die wear. You get die cracks and die chips and die scratches and all sorts of stuff from use. But the rest of it's just transference. Sometimes the die wears, it gets weak, it breaks, cracks, whatever. But the design elements should always be the same on a given year, certain time. Those differences are going to help us determine the authenticity of it. So, Jack, I'm going to turn that over to you. Did I miss anything with that?
No, I think you said it quite well. And I don't know how long they strike before they decide they're going to retire a die, in the Morgan series. I know that I've talked about early large cents and 1794s in general. And there were a lot of challenges back then to how they hardened dies and the wear of the dies and just how long a life they got. And this 1794, there's 58 different collectible die varieties because of issues with dies breaking and those types of things and having to retire them. And in some cases, they would actually take a die they took out of production and go to rework it. And that would create some changes in that die that would then make it another variety as well. So every nuance in the dyes that make them different, make that a different variety. And in the case of Morgan and Peace dollars, we talk about those as VAMs.
And Luther, it does not. I did not know that. I didn't realize that Variety Vista didn't have any Morgans on it. So you'd have to go to the Van Allen, the VAM World, right?
VAM World is actually where you go.
Yeah, VAM World would be the one. Yeah, for some reason I forgot that Variety Vista didn't have the dollar coins. So anyway, thanks for letting me answer that, or for taking care of that as well.
Absolutely. All right, we'll go ahead.
Real quick, folks, if you haven't seen the 2 videos that LiveCoin Q&A did with Jack and Paula had that conversation, there was something in the Morgan, and I don't know if you're going to talk about this right now, but go watch those 2 videos. He explains this. He's covering this pretty quickly, but in those videos, he goes through this pretty in depth and talks about exactly what happened. It wasn't very long after that first video that they removed a key element of this, right?
That is correct. Okay. Probably 2 or 3 weeks. And but there are so many of them. If you go back up to the top, I'm sorry, right there. So this is actually a current auction. I got an email from Beth Deischer at the ACEF, and their president Barry had noticed this. It's a high bid auction, and I've had some issues with stuff at high bid, but this has 3 non-Morgan dollars on it. They're all counterfeit. They had various levels of starting bids and what they anticipated they would go for. And Barry got involved, and as far as I know, they ended up pulling those auctions. But they went in and they removed Morgan from the label. So, in fact, they even used the same cert number in one case, but they just pulled Morgan off the label because when you identify these things, and we talk about the double-edged sword, letting the hobby know about the issues with a coin, with a label, with a slab, whatever it might be, the counterfeiters are listening too. And so we've seen a number of times where they've gone in and tried to address some of their mistakes and made a change, but the coins are still the same bad coins. I mean, it's one thing to look at a label and get an idea that maybe there's something I ought to look at further, but it's really look at the coin. The coin is what you'd be buying, not the slab or the label.
And we've talked about that a lot, because there's a lot of people out there that have, and we're talking about channels that have a ton of people say, well, buy the slab because you're going to guarantee the coin's authentic. That is a really bad thing. That is not true. Jack has shown you time and time again that that's not true today. So always buy the coin. What he just said is extremely vital.
And then if we go a little bit further, Barry had pulled out one of the images of these 3 bad coins. So this is the 1879 CC. Again, it's just a garbage label. It's a garbage slab. It's a garbage coin. And this one was one where you go in and actually pull up the cert on PCGS's webpage, and they have a really good image of the genuine coin. And so you can do a comparison, and you just see how wrong this coin is. And again, the CC's wrong. It's a common CC counterfeit, so it does not match the genuine coin, and so it's counterfeit.
And the mint mark is almost, Eric, you can answer this one too, because the mint mark is kind of like one of the first things everybody should really learn about a coin.
I agree. I think that's one of the best markers on a coin. Because
if you understand your mint marks, you'll do really well in this hobby. Jack, would you agree with that statement?
Well, I actually made that statement in this presentation. That's one of the first things I look at.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry.
You're fine, but absolutely. And it's one of the things that the Chinese have really messed up. That the trade dollar I showed you and that really funky looking CC, I don't know where they even came up with that. It looks like a cartoon, but it certainly doesn't match a genuine coin.
As we were talking about that just before we went live. With precious metals, especially things like silver, shooting up at almost $60 an ounce, unreal. We're going to see more fake coins, absolutely, and they might have different metal structure. I mean, again, talking with Beth, and she was like, hey, a magnet's not the best way to test a metal anymore. They're getting too smart with metallurgics of the coin, right? So those old tricks don't always work. So make sure you stay up to date with, things like the ACEF. Make sure you're listening to the Coin Show podcast and listen to Live Coin Q&A. And again, just really engage with the community and understanding what's going on, because, I think it's going to happen too. We look at some of the coins that are out there. Eric, you can talk a little bit more about this because it's something that you and I discussed. You've looked at it more, but people are counter-striking Omegas.
They are, and it's terrible. It's a lot of people are going to get ripped off over that one.
And so you've got to be careful. And again, understanding as things go up in price. By the way, you remember how the Mint said that they're going to they were talking about the original 5 coins, and they said they're going to go for 2 to 5 million?
Yes.
I figured out what they meant. I was doing some math this morning, and I was like, I wonder. So I plugged in $15,000 times 232, and that comes out to about $3.8 million. And so I was like, well, let's go see if they go to the high end at 25,000, and that was like $5.3 million. And I'm like, oh, they basically set their own auction up. They knew exactly what the return was going to be. And they know where those things are going to fall into place. I'm going to be interested to see where the very last lot goes, because it's at $260,000 right now. And if it's anything like what happened with the flowing hair, I think it's going to be around 450 million or 450,000.
I would think that's about right for the one with the dies you're talking about, right?
Yep, the one with the dice.
Yep.
So, but I was like, you know what? There's no way. How in the heck did they say that? Because they were like, and even the guy, what's the Pawn Star dude, the bald head guy?
Yeah, Rick something.
Yeah, they interviewed him, and he's like, oh, the Mint's crazy. They're not going to get $2 to $5 million a coin. And I'm like, I think they understood. I think people just like me absolutely misunderstood what the Mint was saying there.
Well, the original press release did say 5 coins, not 232.
That's fact.
And if there was only 5 coins, they would be more expensive.
Yep. So, but anyway, we got off on a little bit of a tangent there. But the whole premise is, as metals go up, be leery, because you're going to see more and more of these fake Morgans. Jack, you were talking, or was I talking with Jack Riley? It might have been talking with Jack Riley about the O's, and you guys had what, that 08, right? That after 20 years all of a sudden started surfacing again. Was it the 08 half cent?
Right.
The one that's on your thing?
The 06.
The 06.
1806 half cent.
Yeah, let me pull this up. I already forgot that I still had you guys sitting over there. Yeah, the one that's in that special holder that they just recently did.
Exactly, the boutique holder, yes.
Yeah, and again, so, these things are cyclical. I mean, we see that. So you got to be paying attention. What else you guys have? I don't really have much else.
Did Jack Riley send you some images of trade dollars?
Oh, you know what? Son of a gun. I think he did. Hold on.
I know he's in chat, right?
Should be. Oh. I've got to go look up the.
So Jack wrote a really cool article for Coin Week about a couple of counterfeit 1875 CCs. And I think 2 of those now are in his collection. One got sent to PCGS and the other to NGC, and they both came back body bagged. And so he wrote a really nice article that went through and shows the tells associated with that, which are very specific and really easy to see once you've seen them.
Yeah, let me, for some reason, I hate it when it does this. Hold on. I have 2 accounts, and the computer didn't let me open the other one, so I've got to download these and send these to myself. I apologize. Give me just a few minutes and I'll pull these up. Told you guys I had all sorts of technical issues this morning. What's up, 3D Woodworks? How you doing? What's going on? Yeah, I'm pulling them up. Sorry. You can tell what kind of morning I'm having. Okay, let me pull these up real quick. Sorry about the delay, folks. I know it's terrible having to listen to somebody stumble through something live.
Well,
I stumbled through
between
stuff all the
live
time,
and
dude.
yep, difference between live and recorded.
Yeah, well, that's a fact. And you know, sometimes it can take forever for freaking images to come up through email. So,
Yep.
like, come on, baby. Let's do this. All right, let's show these.
I did send you on Facebook the link to his article.
Okay, let me I'm going to pull this up real quick so that you guys can see this. Can you guys see that all right?
Yes.
All right. And that's the first trade dollar. I don't know if these are in order or not. Oh, Luther, I had plenty of coffee, my friend. I just had a technical morning.
Yeah,
Jack's,
that's one of them.
say again?
Yeah, that's one of the 2 I think he has.
Yeah, and there was a trade dollar that I have. It's a counterfeit. It was somebody sent it to me to look at. This was back, and I tell people all the time, please don't send me coins. Okay, you want to send them to me as a gift, okay, fine, but don't send me a coin, expect me to review it and send it back to you. I won't accept that. Okay, so please don't do that.
That is very difficult to do.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't want to do that. If you send it, I'm going to consider it a gift. That's it. And so I do that, number one, for protection of this, but there's a lot of stuff that you can do, and a lot more experienced people than me. I don't need to be handling your coins. But I know that I have one of these that somebody sent me. I told them that it was not real, explained with it, had worked with Jack and Paula. I think this was back when you were doing your first one, kind of went through, and it's like, oh, well, the reverse on this, I think, is the one that was different. But when I showed Jack Riley those images, Jack Riley was like, oh, that's a different family than the one that I have. And so this is the one from the family that I don't have, or that he didn't have, that I had, if I'm saying that right. Jack, you're going to have to enter in chat, because I think I just confused myself again.
And so this is the second one that he has.
Now, this is purposely designed to make it look like it's old, correct?
Yeah, they go in and do some things to try to make it look genuine, weathered, whatever it might be. Yes.
And this one wasn't called, oh, hold on, not encapsulated. I'm confused. Explain this slab to me. What does it mean by not encapsulated? Is this just a regular slab
And usually
heated?
they don't put those in a slab when they say not encapsulated. They put them in a little flip.
Is it direct value transfer? Is it genuine damage? Oh, it's okay. Just a self holder for president. It's something he made. I was like, hold on, that doesn't make any sense. So that thing is the one that they would have sent in. So he just put it in there. Okay, that makes sense. It's an Amazon slab. That makes sense. Okay. I was like, hold on, this doesn't look right. But again, Jack, true or false? Just knowing what that slab should look like told me that this wasn't correct.
Correct. You would compare that to the genuine slab, it'd be different.
Yeah.
And then again, they just looking at what it says, non-encapsulated would tell you too.
Well, yeah, but again, you're laughing because it's simple. But the thing is that just some of this basic stuff can really save you. It's
Absolutely.
noticing these little things. That's why it's so important to share and expand this knowledge, because these little things fool people all the time. I couldn't immediately tell you what was wrong with it. I was just like, wait, hold on, that's not right. It can't be encapsulated, not encapsulated, altered surface. That doesn't make sense.
Exactly. And then there are a lot of these that end up on eBay where they've created their own label and they use one of these non-NGC holders. And then you go in and pull up the images for the actual cert, and you'll see, in most cases, the prong design is what's off. And you'll see that it's not the same holder.
Oh, see, Jack is so smart. He's like, that's exactly why I did it, to show people exactly what it might look like. Yeah, brilliant. So, hey, I passed your test. Woohoo! I'm going to give myself a silver star today.
An attaboy.
Well, that's the expected thing today, isn't it? Oh, wait, I didn't just say that out loud. Sorry. Oh, very cool. Well, what other stuff do we got to go through? Do you guys have questions regarding marks? Again, I told you that I wanted to share this information with you. I know we went over some of the earlier stuff pretty quickly. The design elements of a coin. And it might have been a little bit too deep, but again, the more I listen to Jack Young, Jack Riley, the more I listen to Chuck and Eric, and I listen to what's happening, and you look at the counterfeits that are coming out, and I got a coin here. Let me pull this up. It was a really interesting question, and the one was this coin right here. It was the one that I showed you guys at the very end. So let me share you this. Oh, hold on. Okay. Let me pull this up and share my screen. So I want to ask you guys a philosophical question. Okay, now, Jack, I'm going to ask you, and Jack Riley, and I don't think Mike's in chat. Luther, Eric, y'all don't answer.
Got it.
Okay? Because I want to get people to think about something that is, I think it's something that we don't do enough, which is kind of critical thinking. But I don't want to cast people who have never been told something under a bus. when I looked at this coin, the first thing that came to mind is, oh, Carson City. But if I would have paid a little bit more attention, this coin should have made me go, well, that's weird. Why did they choose that? Why did they decide to make this coin a CC? And if you know the answer, please feel free, put it in chat. But when I started looking through dates, key dates, when I started looking at mint marks and why they altered mint marks, some of them didn't make sense. Now, Jack, without telling people why this doesn't make sense, and I think you're tracking what, as you're just, yeah. Yep, the 1893 is rare, but the 1893 what is rare, right? I'm going to have chat answer this. Is it rare to have CC? It was altered, coins with syrup, it was altered to an 1893 CC. Most likely was a Philadelphia coin. This is an article you can find on NGC. I think I have it bookmarked, and so I'll put it in the description at the end of the stream. But this was altered to be a CC, and it was more for the wow factor, right? Now, as yours said, because of 1893, what mint mark would have been better to be there? So some of these don't always make sense, because everybody's looking for that 1893 S mint mark, right? That's the piece de resistance. That's a big one. So Jack, what, and I was told you not to say anything, and then I ran my mouth, and I said it anyway. But what coins do you have that were counterfeit that don't make sense?
Well, my 1791 trade dollar doesn't make sense. I mean, that's an open-ended question.
Well, I understand, but the thing is, folks, what I want you to understand with that, and it sounds stupid, it sounds silly, okay? It really does. But the important thing about this is that almost everything can be counterfeit. Talking with the AEC years ago, a lot of people don't know this. We had a massive problem with counterfeit quarters. How many people in chat knew that at one time we had a massive issue with counterfeit quarters? The ACE
36 or something like that. There's tons of them out there.
Yeah. And a lot of people, people know, but it's kind of been one of those things that's out of sight, out of mind. Unless you're actually in the hobby and have studied that, you probably have no idea that there was a time frame where, I mean, tons and tons and tons and tons of silver quarters were being. Oh, hold on, Greg, just a second. Let me do this. Sorry. One of my moderators normally does this for me, and I just realized that they didn't. So give me just a second, and I will do something to fix that. Here, Greg, if you can, I'm going to pin this for you. That is to the horizontal mode. That link will take you over to the one you can actually watch this in horizontal. We do this both vertical and horizontal. So please go ahead and click on that and go over to the other one. Otherwise, go to my my site and then click on live, and you'll see them both there. Just choose the one that's not landscape, or the one that is landscape, excuse me. So hopefully that'll help. Sorry, little deviation there. 40 people watching now. Outstanding. Thank you guys so much for being here. But again, when you're looking at this, don't get lured into the fact that it's not a key date, right? What's the weirdest? And again, not nutty dates, because again, I have the 1796 peace dollar.
Can I make a comment about this 1893 CC?
Yeah.
I mean, it is a relatively expensive, all the way down to a fine 20. The PCS guide is $1,150. I mean, no, it's not the 1893S, but it's still, with the CC, carries a pretty good premium.
But do you think that this was done for just that numismatic item, or was it done more for the people who were focused on looking for the S?
I think somebody was trying to make some money.
Well, isn't that usually the motivation always? Well, most 99% of the time,
Absolutely.
follow the money.
Yep.
But if it was just about the money, wouldn't it be an estimate, Mark?
Yeah, but if which one would draw the most attention when you've gone in and added a mint mark? Would the S draw more attention than the CC, maybe?
But that's what I'm trying to get to.
Okay.
And that is, sometimes they go for things that won't draw that attention.
Exactly. And
Right.
this one
And
will
so-
be less than the S, for sure. But it's still an expensive coin.
Right. Eric,
Yes.
I need to get him back up. Hopefully I can do this before he gets frustrated with Facebook again. But Chuck's Lincoln collection,
Yes.
how many coins does he have in that are counterfeit, that don't even
He's
exist?
got every date, every wheat cent.
Yeah, every single one, every PD and S.
Even the Morgans. He's got, like I said, he's got Morgans like 1921 CC that weren't even ever made. Bunches of them.
Okay, so for those of you in chat, what was the last year? We just talked about this yesterday. What was the last year of the Carson City Mint? Jonathan Hughes, CC equals carbon copy. Yep, back in the day. But again, yeah, so fun stuff.
Yeah, they actually counterfeit just about everything.
Yeah. Well, the one that was funny is the 58S. I don't think it exists.
Yeah.
He had a whole bunch of them.
And that's it. He's got a lot of coins that just don't exist. They were never manufactured.
So yeah, when you're looking at it again, especially if you're talking about precious metals, that was the whole reason we ended up talking about the various ones. But there's going to be more and more counterfeits. Just be aware of that. And again, knowing things like the mint mark, knowing things like the positioning of the date, knowing where the coin starts, it's all extremely important. I'm going to go back to.
Hey, Frosty?
Yeah, please.
You know, again, as far as there's going to be more counterfeits, I think with values going up the way they are, it's not so much there's going to be more counterfeits. I think there's going to be more people that don't know what they're doing buying the counterfeits.
That is a fact. So there's going to be a bigger market for it.
That's the issue. I mean, they're out there right now, but we've got so many people on eBay now, not only buyers, but we got sellers that don't know what they have. And then some of these folks, you go in and tell them and explain it, they pulled the listing. You know, they sell Pokemon cards, and somehow they came up with an 81cc Morgan, and they have no clue. But they put it up on eBay because, you know, it's a silver dollar and silver's gone up. And to be honest, I mean, I've had several of them that have been scanned. There's no silver in them at all, zero.
Well, yeah, there was a discussion on, I think it's called German silver or something like that. It just has that color, but it's not actually, it doesn't contain a lick of silver in it.
It doesn't, but it was used for a lot of nickel coins, and that's how you can identify whether a Buffalo nickel was actually made at the mint or was made by contemporary counterfeiters.
Yeah, so metallurgy makes a big difference, but there's just tons of counterfeits out there, and it's important to look at. And this is why I appreciate Jack coming on and talking about these things, right? Really actually looking at some of these things. And then next week, again, Jack Riley's in chat, so he's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. We're talking about New Orleans. So we're going to do, on Saturday, we're going to do the story time for the New Orleans Mint, talk about some fun facts in the history and some of the production that they did. And then we'll break down some of the micro O's that Jack Riley's been working on. And so it's going to be a fun episode. It seems like people enjoy this format, talking a little bit about the history of the coin and then talking about the coins themselves. And I think we're going to continue this for a little bit. We'll see what people think of this, and if the format works, then we'll just continue it. I don't mind doing it. It's nice to know what I'm talking about for the entire weekend and not having to come up with multiple items. So it's good for me, but it's what matters to you that matters most. What do you guys think about this format, Jack? You guys like this?
Yeah, I do. I like it. I like it because I can prepare as well. You and I are on the same page going into what are we going to do next weekend.
It's definitely nice not to fly by the seat of your pants.
Oh, yeah.
I still fly by the seat of my pants, but a little preparation has been nice.
But what's also nice is the times we do go off the handle, because those are just fun episodes.
Oh, yes. I agree. I agree.
You got to have those every once in a while. So I want to address something that's in chat. In the final days, most people will not be bothered by coins. They'll be worried about the metal, silver or gold. And to some degree, yes, people will always be scammed. You can buy fake gold and silver off eBay. You can buy all sorts of things that are fake. But there are also things that you can do to protect yourself. You can know things like what we've talked about today. You can know the mint mark. You can look at stuff online. Here's a really interesting thing that a lot of people don't do that they should do. Don't purchase from eBay on your cell phone. Why is that? Well, you only have one screen. You want to be a smart eBay shopper, do it on a computer or a tablet. Split your screen in two, and then have your source on one side and then eBay on the other. Go pull up your source. So, for instance, if I'm going to be, matter of fact, let me share my screen and we'll just do this. Let's just walk through this. Let's cancel this real quick. Stop sharing. I will close this down.
Quick comment.
Fire away.
Luther in chat made an interesting point. More people liquidating their collections, and we're seeing more and more people bringing in collections to coin shops, and only to find out that the majority are counterfeit.
Because they didn't have this information beforehand?
They didn't know what they were buying, and they thought they were buying good coins. They thought they were good holders. And so we're seeing more and more where people, now that the prices have gone up, are going in to liquidate only to find out that they don't have good coins. And that's a real tragedy.
It really is, especially the people that have put their faith in the fact that they've been buying good stuff for their kids. It's got to be disheartening thing that you're.
The terrible one you hear all the time.
Yeah.
My grandpa bought these and he knew what he was doing and this and that. And then it's like, well, if that statement is true, a lot of times it's not a true statement, but sometimes it is. Look at the golden dollar racket. Just the term golden dollar was a terrible thing for the U.S. government to do. At least in my opinion. They should have called them, Sacagawea dollars.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's do, give me a date. Let's find, let's just do 1878. That's a good year for, let me go find eBay, and as soon as I pull this up. Okay. So I'm going to split my screen real quick, and I'm going to show you guys what I consider to be smart shopping. Okay. Now bear with me a little bit, and I don't know if this is how you do it or not. Jack, but I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so let's say that I am, and I would be utilizing VMworld because, again, we're looking for Morgans. I want to check my information out. And I'm going to be looking for 1878 CC Morgan dollars. Okay, so we have some stuff here. Find one that looks a little bit interesting, something in my price range. All right, so let's walk through this, Jack. Obviously we have the 1878. We're looking at the CC, right? We can see that. Now you can look at this and probably tell me authentic or not.
Yeah, the CC is in the right place and the arrow feather is correct for the date.
Okay, where would I look to make sure that that was correct?
I would look in VMworld, or I would go on to PCGS CoinFacts, either one.
Okay, and from VMworld, how would you get to identifying that particular one?
I go in and look and see what it has for reverses. I can't see your screen real well, but typically in VMworld, there'll be a link there that'll show the common reverses or how many different reverses there are.
Sort by reverse design?
There you go. Yeah.
And then you can actually look through and find out where they belong, where they go.
Exactly. And, typically I'll make a bigger image of the coin that I'm interested in and then do a comparison to VMworld where the CC should be.
And this gives us a really good representation of where it's at in relation,
Exactly.
position. You can look at it, how close, how far apart they are. Are they closed or open? This actually looks like this one. You'll find out what it is, and then if you want to dig in any further, then you can actually dig in and start looking for the die markers. That would be that thing that tell you which is not. But so that wouldn't be it. But anyway, so this is how you kind of go through this. Jack Riley's way better at doing VAMs than I am. He loves looking at them. So, what do you do when you can't see the denticles? Does that matter to you?
Well, I go in and still try to find a reference for position. But yeah, sometimes it's hard if you can't see the denticles to get it to line up exactly.
But is this always a good place to start, or would you rather start at the mint mark?
I always start with the mint mark, always.
They didn't buy the book first. Yeah, well, and again, looking at the other chat, should I buy this before he does? You can. I just want to go through. These are the kind of things that you should do when you're looking to buy a coin online. Have your resources available. This is why I think that buying on a telephone is a bad idea. Number one, you can't see the image very well, as many people who are looking at their phone in vertical mode, right? You can't really read the text down below. I don't think you can split your screen. You might be able to do it on something that's not Apple. But I would need something side by side, because if I'm going to be purchasing online, I want to make sure that I have all the information. I want to be looking at those positions and those placements of things and saying, hey, is this right? Is that D, remember the D that I showed you guys earlier, that's there. When you're looking at the position, where are they at? Should they be there? This one looks like it's normal. You got 1, 2, and 3. So are the positions right? Are the things in the right place? So I would be looking and having this information available to me if I was buying online. Otherwise, I won't purchase online, even if I know the person. I need to have my references available.
Buyer beware. If it's half off or a third of the price it's supposed to be, back away unless you really know what you're doing. People that are selling on eBay don't just randomly sell, usually. You know what I'm saying, Frosty?
Yeah.
So if you get, a $500 coin and it's up there for $98, don't even consider it unless you really know what you're looking at.
Hey, Jack, how much is a gram of, or how much is an ounce of gold right now? Just approximate. Do you know?
I have no clue.
Eric, do you know?
At all.
I do not. I don't pay attention to it.
No, it's absolutely perfect because most people don't. But it's 4,200 plus. Gold's fairly high. And if you see gold for $1,500 per ounce,
exactly.
You know, right? They don't go on sale, folks. I'm sorry. The price of precious metals is the price of precious metals. They don't go on sale. And so if you see a $400 coin, then, well, okay, so let me talk about what I mean by sell. If it's, $200 off because you spent $10,000 in the shop, that's a shop deal, right? But you're not going to be finding $156 double eagle.
And there's a lot more variables when you're in the shop.
Right.
Usually you're shopping someplace you trust. And most shops, if you find something out that they're selling something bogus, they're not doing it purposely. They'll buy it right back. eBay, you're not looking at the coin, you're looking at a photograph. You're not buying from somebody. I mean, you could be buying from somebody you trust. I mean, there are a lot of trustworthy sellers on eBay. I shouldn't just say everybody's not trustworthy. I think my point is more, know what you're buying, and definitely don't assume that I'm getting a great deal. This is going to be wonderful for me. I'm going to make $300, because things like that usually don't happen. That's more so my point. Like if you say buy it at the shop, you got the coin in your hand, you're probably dealing with somebody that you've dealt with before. You're going there and looking and buying something that you're actually looking to buy, so you know what you're buying, or hopefully you do. So there's a lot more to it than buying in person than buying online. And it's not just eBay, it's any online site.
Yeah, and there's two comments in chat. One is there's no such thing as cheap silver and gold. Fact. Kane, you're right on. The other one is Jack Riley, and this has been...
that's my point, period,
yeah,
right there.
If you can't authenticate it from the picture, don't buy it.
And if you have any doubts, don't buy it.
But one of the problem here is, and again, I'm not knocking anybody. If you have this issue, I have this issue. The one major problem about buying things online is overestimating your ability to distinguish what's good and bad. Be careful with that, right? There are some people that are very adept to doing that. Most of us are mediocre at best. And so when you have questions, and again, folks, I have been doing this not a long time. I've only been streaming live for about 3 years. I was more of a collector of coins instead of a coin collector. I know that sounds like a distinct and subtle difference, but it makes a huge difference if you know what I mean. And I have found more times than not, I understand a concept not as well as I think I do. So when we have guests like Jack and Paula and Mike and Aaron Burke and there's so much good information that we need to just kind of capture and just share, right? I guess I'm just rambling right now because part of my frustration is how do you, how am I trying to say this? We don't own coin shop. I don't own coin shops. You have owned a coin shop, Eric, right?
Yes.
Jack, you've never worked in a coin shop, right?
No, I've got friends in coin shops, obviously, but no, I've never worked in one.
This is all because of our interest in coins and what we want to do and what we want to learn. I've been blessed to be connected to you guys through Paula. Paula has connected me to a ton of people that I know within this hobby. And so what I want to be for you guys is kind of like your network, right? I want to be able to tell you who the people are, and then you deal with them. Sometimes I get to be able to help you without going to them, but more times than not, if it's a counterfeit, that picture is going to be going to Jack Young, Jack Riley, maybe Zach. If it's a seeded variety, it may go to somebody like Russ Vega as well. You know, I'm going to send those coins, copper coins, obviously, if it's a Lincoln cent, right? I'm going to engage those people. I want to be able to make sure I have that good network. And so Jack has a very, very, very extensive network when it comes to this aspect of coin collecting. When it comes to understanding varieties and the attribution of cents, Chuck and Eric have a huge in-depth network. So plugging yourself into the right channels. So folks, what I want you guys to do before this day is through, and no, I'm a poet, I know it, but come on, you guys, a little bit of laughter would be fun. Go check out Fun with Fakes on Facebook, and go check out Copper Coins on YouTube, or go check out Copper Coins website.
Hey, Frosty,
Yeah.
I think I just kind of blew up your chat a little bit with a link that I posted.
What's this one? What link is that? I don't see.
It's
Oh, there it is. The eBay.
well, you were talking about the 78cc, so I thought I'd go a little bit deeper in the dumpster for you.
Oh, let me share that screen. I totally missed that.
And you're right. The guy sells plush. He doesn't sell coins.
There we go.
Look at the bids, 22 bids. If you can blow up that reverse, what did we learn this morning? How's the feather on the top arrow look?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking at.
Look at the CC. And then when you go up, what's going across the eagle's breast? Oh, no, not a slash.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of stuff that drives me crazy. I mean, I'll get this removed, but 22 bids, $177, you know, it's a Chinese counterfeit. What did Jack
All day,
Riley,
every day.
what did Jack Riley say in chat? I did.
Whoops, I lost my chat. Hold on. There
Oh.
it is.
You just know my.
That's normally what he tells me when I send him something like this. I think Luther commented too.
Your chair sounds like a rooster or a big fart sometimes. I'm assuming you're talking to Eric.
Oh, it's probably my chair. My chair squeaks when I move.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day. Again, I should record one time our conversation ahead of time and just say, hey, we're just going to
Have a 2-hour conversation and play it back.
That would be terrible.
Oh,
Yeah,
too
we have
much
to
fun.
remove the name so we seem more innocent.
Oh, man, some of the conversations we have, though, are amazing. Funny, amazing, not necessarily like, oh my God, really, I can't believe this is happening stuff. But oh, well, folks, I got nothing else. I think I'm done for today.
Look forward to your questions for New Orleans next week.
Yeah, do you guys, again, if you guys enjoy this, let me know. I think I didn't sleep enough last night, and I've had enough technical issues to frazzle the snot out of me today, so I think I am just going to call it a day. Any closing remarks? Jack, Eric.
Just glad you had me, and I look forward to doing this every weekend. It's like one of the highlights of my weekends.
I enjoy it too. And again, Jack, thanks so much for being here.
I really enjoy it. It's always fun. I love talking with you guys. And
I appreciate the support and the insight. And again, when we do these, it's a great opportunity to have your coins handy. Obviously, some of you, it's going to be difficult to have all of them. But if you know, like next week, you know we're going to be talking about New Orleans. You know we're going to be talking about the micro O. Get some of your New Orleans coins out, pull them up, take a few photos, send them in. Let's look at a couple of these. Jack will be in chat. Jack Young will be able to look at some of these things, and they can ask questions. You don't necessarily have to be on the panel, but pull the screens up and we can talk about the coins. Use this as an opportunity to learn, genuinely as an opportunity to learn. That's what we want this to be. So again, Jack, Eric, thank you so much for being here. Folks, please go over and say to Paula, send her a message, Facebook, YouTube, go to an old video, something, say, hey, thinking about you, praying for you. Let her know that we miss her. Hopefully she'll be back soon. And then again, just reach out. You know, if you haven't seen somebody in chat, 'tis the season. Be observant, watch that, monitor that. And again, if you haven't heard from somebody that you talk to a lot, reach out, make sure they're okay. Make sure they're doing well this Christmas season. The last thing that I'd like to ask is if you guys are around a military base and you have men and women that are single, that don't have family or can't get home, consider going to base, talking to the ombudsman and people like that, and offer to take them to a holiday dinner. Just get to know them, let them know that they're loved and appreciated. This can be a really hard time. And after the recent event of what happened in the parking lot here at San Antonio, where we had a veteran just give up in the parking lot, take time for people. Listen to what people are saying. Think about the season. It's a tough time for many people. So if you don't see people that you normally see in chat, reach out. Just ask them how they're doing. A little kindness and a little consideration go a long way. All right, folks. Be well, be blessed. Love you guys.